One of the greatest mysteries of Croatian history, a controversial and passionate figure, one who left a significant mark on the European politics of the 19th century. Almost overlooked in the historical records of the time, descendant of a historical Irish noble family, the most powerful nobleman of the Croatian Illyrian movement, founder of the first museum in Croatia, with a dream to restore the power of the Frankopan family. Field Marshal, Knight of the Order of the Golden Fleece, Commander of the Military Order of Maria Theresa, Roman Prince, Count Laval Nugent of Westmeath was born in Ballinacor, Ireland, November 3rd, 1777, into an ancient Irish Catholic noble family. There are uncertainties as to the pronunciation of his surname. In Ireland and Great Britain, he's called Nugent. In Austria, Nugent. In Croatia and France, Nugent. In Croatia, he insisted on the simplified French pronunciation, highlighting the importance of his family roots, which go back as far as the year 930. That was the year when the family Nugent was mentioned for the first time in Normandy, France. They were among the noble French families aligned to William the Conqueror, who set off to England and later to Ireland. In the 12th century, they had already family ties to the English and French royalty. They took part in the Crusades, and throughout history, members of the Nugent family fought for various European rulers. In the 17th century, they entered into the service of the Habsburg family, and the Austrian branch of the Nugent family was formed, from which was born Laval's father, General of the Artillery, Michael Anton, in the 18th century, as well as his uncle, Field Marshal Robert Jacob Nugent. Laval was his uncle's protege and started his military career as a 16-year-old in the year 1793, when he entered the Habsburg military with the permission of the English king. His military career started as a cadet in the engineering corps. Due to his abilities and his persistence in the wars against Napoleon armies, he quickly advanced his military career, where he served back and forth in the engineering corps and the main headquarters. He took part in numerous battles in Italy, where for his extreme courage he was awarded the Knight's Cross of Maria Theresa. After great battles in Vienna, victory in the town of Ashburn, and defeat at Wagram, a truce was settled. And together with Count Metternich, he was appointed as a second representative in the negotiations with Napoleon. Not satisfied with the outcome, he refused to sign the peace treaty in Schönbrunn and left the Austrian army. Though while retired, he couldn't remain inactive and was involved in various diplomatic activities, such as a participation in the creation of a new anti-Napoleon coalition. Nugent's activities between 1810 and 1813 were unclear. He was in Vienna and then in the Ionic Islands, either in Malta or Sicily, in Spain and Portugal, and visited the Duke of Wellington. He then spent time in London, Göteborg, Kollenberg, Berlin, and then back to Vienna, and then started out on the same journey around Europe. With the Duke of Wellington in Spain, he discussed the possibility of embarking on Italy. From Spain in the year 1813, he took documents to Vienna, after which Austria declared war on France, and Nugent returned to the Austrian army. Immediately he proposed to the War Council of the Austrian court the plan for the liberation of parts of Croatia, conquered by the French, the so-called Illyrian provinces. When his proposal was declined, he gathered around 1,000 soldiers on his own and crossed the border at the river Sava near Zagreb. And then, without a fight, he entered Rijeka. With a mere 50 soldiers and with the help of the local population, he went on to liberate all of Istria. In 1815, he reinstated Pope Pius VII back to power, and as a sign of his gratitude, the Pope gave him the title of Roman Prince. Continuing his quests, he defeated the King of Naples, the ex-Marshal of Napoleon, Murat, and helped put back into power Ferdinand I of the Bourbon dynasty. With the permission of the Austrian Emperor, Ferdinand nominated him the chief commander of the Naples Royal Army. In Naples, he married the Duchess Giovanna Rari Sforza, a member of the European aristocracy. The royal Sforza family had ties to many European princes and kings, and were also distant relations to the Frankopan family on the female side. After marrying, his interest in the Frankopan family began to increase. Interested in the Roman branch, which in the 10th century took part in the elections of popes, and according to legend founded Florence, as well as the Croatian branch of the family. The first evidence of his obsession with history can be seen in the archaeological excavations that he undertook in his own lands, which he financed on his own, thus all the monuments found remained in his possession. Nugent also bought stone monuments, first in Naples, and then in Rome, and later probably in Venice, Vicenza, and maybe even Pula. In 1820 he decided to move to Croatia, where from Count Augsburg he bought the castle of Basilevo, the birthplace of Fran Christo Frankopan, and after bought the castle of Stara Sušica and Tursat. Through his correspondence with the distinguished entrepreneur Ludwig Adamich from Rijeka, who negotiated the deal, it can be seen that Nugent also wanted to buy the entire town of Vinodol, once the nucleus of the Frankopan lands, from where the family started their economic and political ascension. He continued buying Frankopan lands in Croatia, such as Stelnik, Kastel, Lovic, Dugovac, and Kostel in Kranjska. Soon he was one of the biggest landowners in Croatia. In Dugovac he intended to form a seminary for the Franciscan order. According to one document, the new seminary was meant to include the whole town, but this idea was never realized, as he never got the necessary permission from Rome. As a landowner and the heir of the Frankopan family, Laval Nugent also wanted political power. In 1840, the Mysi prince Kolovrat recommended him for the position of viceroy, but the proposal was dismissed due to the Hungarian opposition. According to the writings of Neustädter, Laval Nugent, an old count, Roman prince and now field marshal, from the very beginning of the Illyrian movement, declared himself a supporter of the Croatian people. As a supporter of the Illyrian movement, the shrewd diplomat clearly saw all the benefits the movement could offer the imperial crown, which found itself threatened by the Hungarian kingdom and also by the growing demands of its noblemen. As he wasn't elected viceroy, he was appointed to the position of commander of the Vojna Krajina, the military frontier, the second most important position in Croatia. Following his nomination, he openly joined the Illyrian movement and became a member of the Illyrian People's Party. And being thoroughly aristocratic in his thinking, he wasn't satisfied simply with the membership in the party. He wanted the party to be the one which would govern Croatia. The central political problem in Croatia at the time was a conflict with the Hungarians, which culminated during the elections in the region of Zagreb, in which the Illyrian party won. The victory in the elections of the 31st of May 1842 was a sort of silent state coup and looked very British. Laval, the commander of the Vojna Krajina, became a very pronounced figure in Croatia at the time. One can only imagine the surprise of the Hungarian court when they saw this previously self-disciplined, Germanized Irish field marshal appear to dress as a Croatian nobleman who wanted to lead Croatian politics. Especially after 20 years of patient preparations, he began to practice his politics completely openly. It was all overwhelming for the Hungarian court, and they immediately made two powerful moves. Laval, one of the central figures of Illyrianism, was removed from Croatia in terms of real political power. Everything was done quite elegantly. He was removed from the duty as commander of the Vojna Krajina and appointed commander of Inner Austria and Tyrol. At the same time, a Hungarian was proclaimed viceroy. It didn't take long for Laval to respond. He introduced his son Albert into Croatian politics. also a controversial historical figure. Albert had inherited courage and severity from his father, and was soon nicknamed the Croatian Lion. He, however, lacked his father's subtlety, thus his behaviour was rather severe. If we consider that half of the old Count Nugent's background had its origins in Ireland, it is even stranger to observe that his eldest son Albert was the most passionate member of the Illyrian movement in Croatia. Count Albert spoke excellent Croatian, and in public and in his frequent travels, he wore the multicoloured uniform of the Saracens from the Vojna Krajina. He often draped himself proudly in a red mantle. After returning from wars in the Holy Land, Albert launched himself into Croatian politics. His first public appearance was during the solemn proclamation when Count Haller was proclaimed viceroy. The young Count Nugent knew how to lessen the effect that the Hungarians' extravagant celebration had on the spirit of the citizens of Zagreb, and he prepared a great counter-ceremony in the name of the People's National Party. Nugent arrived riding a Turkish horse at the head of the procession, wearing an Illyrian uniform, followed by 400 liberals in national garb, adorned with red caps on their heads and rifles over their shoulders. When the procession arrived, the locals cheered passionately, and their thunder-like cries of "Viva" gave a sign to the Hungarians that they shouldn't be too confident in their victory. The painting representing Count Albert Nugent at the head of the procession can still be found today in almost every town and throughout all the houses of Croatian patriots. Due to later events, the Illyric name was forbidden to be used, and the fighting moved from a political to a cultural perspective. In this context, one should consider the official opening of the unfinished Nugent Museum in Trsat in 1843. The museum is the first complex museum in Croatia. In Laval's plans, the function of Trsat was dual. It was meant to become a strong cultural centre, strictly tied to the Frankopans, as the deepest roots of Croatian history, and at the same time serve as a monumental necropolis for the Nugent family. For this purpose, the ruined castle of Trsat was renovated in the spirit of Romanticism. It was one of the first restorations of a medieval fortress in Croatia. For the tomb, a mausoleum shaped as an antique temple was constructed with the facade of 4 Doric columns, with an empty pediment above where the words "Peace of Heroes" was inscribed in Croatian. According to the words of one contemporary, the exhibits of the museum were meant to be displayed in the towers of the castle. In the 3rd tower, the old paintings of great masters in the Count's possessions were supposed to be displayed. In the 4th tower, there was meant to be the guards' quarters and a collection of Utrasian vases, while the 5th would have had a collection of old coins and medallions, as well as other bronze objects. Apart from this, the museum also contained a large collection of stone monuments, a collection of old documents, maps and graphics, and a collection of objects of the Frankopan family. Laval not only fought for Croatia on a cultural level, but he also wanted to make Croatia economically strong. Thus, he was one of the founders of the Croatian Economic Society. The revolutionary events of 1848 brought Laval Nugent into the political life of Croatia and the monarchy. One of the most important issues was the election of the Croatian viceroy, in which Nugent played a crucial role. Upon his arrival in Graz, Ludwig Guy went immediately to his protector Nugent, and they immediately discussed the current situation in Croatia. At the time, Guy insisted that there was only one solution, and that was to place at the head of the people a favoured genius and loyal man who would lead the national movement to the needs of Croatia and the imperial court. He added that he knew only one person capable of accomplishing such a task, and that was Colonel Baron Josip Jelačić. As a general, Nugent valued Jelačić very much, but he had reservations, which he shared with Guy, concerning his young age and lack of experience as a colonel of the frontier. But eventually Nugent gave in to Guy's argument and added that it would be of the utmost importance to get the consent of Archduke Johann, who was sojourning in Graz at the time. After the successful appointment of Josip Jelačić to viceroy, the Archduke Johann sent Nugent to northern Italy to help Marshal Radetzky lead the reinforcements of 35,000 Croatian frontier soldiers. For his successful campaigns in Italy, the Emperor awarded Austrian countship to him and his nephew Ivan. At the beginning of the war with the Hungarians, Nugent was proclaimed chief commander of Inner Austria, Tyrol and Illyria. Although he was rather reserved at the beginning of the war with Hungarians, he later advanced his troops from Radgona in southern Hungary and conquered Osijek. At the end of the war, together with Jelačić and the other generals who had saved the Habsburg monarchy and throne, Nugent was again awarded the highest Austrian order, the Commander Cross of the Order of Maria Theresa. But the absolutism of Franz Joseph was the end of the idea of a powerful Croatia. Many significant figures, such as Jelačić and Guy, left the political scene, and with them, Albert Nugent disappeared from the historical scene as well. However, Laval remained in politics in his own particular way, proving that not even important social changes could suffocate his constant need for battle. From this, he lobbied for Rijeka to become the main military port of the monarchy, a sort of Austrian Gibraltar. His plan seems a little bizarre in today's perspective, as well as all the other actions he undertook. However, if we consider that Rijeka was part of Croatia until the Croatian-Hungarian Accord, it clearly shows the political significance of his actions. Laval had tried to convince the court to choose Rijeka as the main Austrian military port, and with this act, the monarchy would invest heavily in Croatia and would also add new military power. However, everything Laval had proposed for Rijeka was carried out in Pula. Laval was a man of all times, driven by passions, which is seen in the episode of 1859. At the age of 82, as a volunteer, he took part in the Battle of Solferino. He almost never let up. Even on his deathbed, he dictated a proposal to introduce railroad